military commander from the West, the governor of the West, Raji, who stood with the Igbo man. It didn't stop there. Next stage, a few months later, 2 or 3 pogroms in the north. Over 100,000 Igbos. 100,000. They say 30. But it's not 30. It's 100,000. And if you want to know the true history and read the story, please don't read what either the Nigerians or even the Biafrans write. Go and look at the journals of the French journalists, the French historians particularly, and the British and the Americans, to the extent that the American president of that day said he has never seen such barbarism before. This is what they said. 100,000. House to house. Hospital to hospital. Office place to office. Even the airport. They will see an Igbo woman. They will say, you're an Igbo woman. Cut open her stomach. Bring out the child. Dash the child's head against the floor. Papa, you will confirm to them this is the truth. Why do you think they stopped teaching history in Nigerian schools? Because they don't want anybody to know. But my own position is this. If you don't know the truth about your past, you will repeat the mistakes of the past, you will not learn the lesson of history, and you will ensure that history repeats itself, and things will go from bad to worse. And that's precisely what is happening today. We haven't learned from our history. But they don't want you to know. Didn't stop there. As 100,000 were being slaughtered, they were running back to the east. A great man, a great son of the East, who was part of the military hierarchy, a privileged man, who was at Oxford University, a very senior army officer, who was the commander, general officer commanding the military in the eastern zone of this country, a member of the ruling class, a man whose father was one of the richest men in Nigeria. He had nothing to gain in saying that he would rather die than watch his people die. He was a member of the ruling class. What did he say? He said, enough is enough. And he drew the line. And he said, you that are being slaughtered, sons and daughters of the Igbo, Igbo, come back home, and we will draw the line. And when you cross that line, you are inside Biafra, and they cannot come and kill you in Biafra. That's what happened. And they started coming back. At every stop, train station, check it out. Look at the historical records. Find out whether what I'm telling you is true. All the train stations they stopped at, as they were fleeing from Kanu, Kaduna, all these places, they were stoned, they were beaten, bows and arrows were fired at them, they were insulted, they were treated like animals. But they managed to get home. And then, of course, the war started. A lot happened, but the war started. During the course of the war, let me be brief, 2 million of your people were killed by our people, and I am a Nigerian. Many of my uncles fought in that war. We lost many too. War is a terrible thing. But 2 million civilians were killed by our troops. And worst of all, 1 million Igbo children. My son is sleeping in the car. Igbo blood flows through his veins. He's half Igbo. His Igbo name is Lotanna. He's half Igbo. If he had been born at that time, is it not fair for me to say that he may well have been a victim as well, if he had been on the eastern side of the Niger? It's quite possible. The humanity that is within us must cause us and enable us to empathize with the suffering. This is not about Biafra-Nigeria war. Because if the Biafrans and the Nigerians wanted to fight, let there be a fight between two armies. That's how wars are fought. You sign to join to fight to die. But when it gets to a point that you and your army are slaughtering innocent women and children in the name of war, that's a completely different thing. As a matter of fact, it's called a crime against humanity. It's called genocide. It's called ethnic cleansing. And we were guilty of that, and this is why I say the first thing that any serious leader ought to do if he says he wants to run for presidency or anything in this nation, or any leader worth his salt, is to issue an apology to the Igbo people of Nigeria for what we as Nigerians did to them during the Civil War. That is the first step to progress in this country. The war ended, and what happened? Igbo men that had millions in the bank. Let me tell you your history. And please, those that are so disconnected, that say that it doesn't matter what happened in the past, let's just think about the present, have almost lost their soul. And that is the whole purpose. Because if you're no longer connected, if you don't care about what happened in the past, then surely you certainly don't have a right to complain about the plight of today. Millions in the bank. War ended. And what did we do? We took all the money and we said, take £20. And we gave you £20 to begin your lives again. You go back to where you came from after the Civil War. You went back to the south. You went back to the north. Your properties were taken from you in the name of abandoned property. The only place that you could get your properties back, and this is important, was in the southwest. And you got your properties back there. A few infractions here and there. But you got your property back. Everywhere else in this country, the Igbo could not collect his property back. But you know what? It's not all a sad tale. And this tells you the kind of courage that only you can possibly muster in this nation. The strength of the Igbo. Within 10 years after the end of the Civil War, despite the fact you had been killed, maimed, deprived of everything you have, an Igbo man became the vice president of Nigeria in 1979 by the name of Chief Alex Ekweme. And not only the Igbo could have done that. And I'm very proud of the fact that you managed to do that. And incidentally, it's never happened in human history that after a civil war, so soon, 10 years, that those that were on the other side, that lost the war, ended up having a vice president for the whole nation. It's never happened before. So that tells you that there is hope. Now, what are we saying today? The same way in which Igbos were killed at that time, just before the war, and after the coup, and during the coup, and just after the coup, is what we are witnessing today over the last 3 years since President Buhari has come to power. And you cannot sit by quietly. We have a few months to go to an election. And blush your mind out to the fact that thousands of your sons and daughters were mowed down all over the East by the military and by the police. Buhari's military and Buhari's police. Simply because they expressed a desire to have a referendum to determine whether or not there ought to be Biafra or they should stay in Nigeria. It's called self-determination. And they fought for that with their minds and their pens. They never lifted a gun. They never inflicted violence on anybody. It was what you call a freedom of expression, an intellectual exercise, and an aspiration and a dream, which is something that ought to be cherished in any civilized society, particularly by an abused people. Because the Igbos have been abused. Why do you worry about the Igbo? Why do you talk about the... I get this all the time. And I tell people, I say, particularly to my own brothers and sisters in the Southwest, and I'm a proud Yoruba man. Proud Yoruba man. I tell them that as you see the house of the Igbo burning, don't rejoice and don't laugh. Because when they finish with the Igbos, they're coming for us. They have already broken the middle belt. And when I say they, you know who they are. They don't come from here. They come from Futajalum. Historical facts. And the Fulani has conquered the Hausa kingdoms. The Fulani has conquered the Core North. The Fulani has made everybody subservient to them in the Core North. The Fulani have their own language, which they refuse to share with ordinary commoners. They have imposed Hausa as the lingua franca of the North, even over the Christian kingdoms there. And I tell you, if you think the Igbo had it hard, go and find out what has happened to the people of the Middle Belt, where Christians are slaughtered every day by Fulani terrorists in their homes, maimed, vital organs removed. And the people will try to defend themselves. They will be disarmed by the military and the police. And then they will allow the Fulani to come in. And no policeman, no soldier will defend the communities. 808 people died. December 25th, 24th and 25th in southern Kaduna alone, in one community. 808. That's a lovely Christmas gift. And my friend, who is the governor of that state, who is no longer my friend, because I cannot be friends with a mass murderer and a genocidal maniac, hold his soldiers or the commanders or the police under his command as chief security of the state to just ignore it. And never has there been an apology. Since then, it's been happening. Taraba, you need to know what's going on. Adamawa, Plateau, everywhere in the Middle Belt. Everywhere. Benue, it's a daily occurrence. And there's a collusion with the media to suppress the truth. But the truth stands no matter what. I had the honor and privilege of receiving over 1,000 people at the burial of Mama yesterday. They sat quietly in one corner, under a large canopy. I didn't know there were so many until I went there to meet them. They were representative of IPO, who came to honor my mother-in-law in death. And yesterday I had the distinct privilege of visiting the home of my friend and brother Nnamdi Kanu, because I cannot come to this part of the country and not visit his home, even though we don't know where he is. And we had some very interesting discussions there. My pain is not just for you, but for each and every one of us. In the Southwest, we are suffering as well. They have killed many of our people over the years. They killed MK Abiola, who won an election. They orchestrated a division in 1965, where we were killing each other like animals in the Southwest, which led to the first coup. They've been killing us ever since. They've been depriving us ever since. They've been denying us ever since. And I'm saying it ends today. Amen. Amen. And please, make no mistake about it. When I speak, I'm not alone.